there'd be a lot of poop in my pants. I've seen a 6-foot alligator go swinging through the air and slam into a tree.
These guys are the scientists of the supernatural, lecturers leaving lessons for inquiring laymen. They are applying the scientific method to a world that baffles science. They are the cryptids of the corn.
But who else has big black wings and red eyes?
Batman.
Well, Mothman.
Oh yeah, Mothman.
A great white shark was stolen.
Oh, someone stole a shark?
I got stuff for you don't even know about.
She's a witch. She turned me into a newt.
Who knows? Anything could be possible. Anything could be possible.
It's really big abduction vibes.
Holy moly.
It sounds like you were abducted.
And it just stood up. I mean, it just like kept going and going. And she goes, what the?
Season 4, baby! That's what I'm talking about!
Season 4 energy. We are here.
Season 4!
We made it.
I am the great and powerful Mr. E. No, let me redo that. I am the great and powerful Season 4 Mr. E.
Season 4. You're well seasoned. I'm the infamous Jay. The OG, the one and only.
Ooh.
Your pal. Your friend. Our friend.
I doubt that. One legend says
What?
that a man named Bunyip broke the rainbow serpent's greatest law by eating his own totem animal. Banished to the spirits of Bunyip, the man became an evil spirit that lured tribesmen and their livestock into the water so he could eat them. But we'll come back to that in a bit.
Yeah, I guess so. Kind of threw me off my everything.
No, rainbow serpents.
Rainbow serpents, the aboriginal legend, the Australian legend.
Not that Australian, aboriginal Australia.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of front of house stuff because it's season 4.
All right, let's knock it out real fast.
I'm going to do
real
it
fast.
YouTube. Get on the YouTube. Get on it quick.
Yep, we got our documentaries coming out very soon.
Very soon. Like literally in 2 weeks.
So
get ready for the premiere party.
So YouTube, join our YouTube page.
Yep. Cryptids of the Corn at YouTube.
Like, share, subscribe, like, ring that bell.
Paranormality Magazine. We're affiliates. Use the code Corn Crew to get so we get some kickback from it. Good magazine. Hopefully we'll have some articles in it next month.
Paranormality. Corn Crew, code word.
Yep. Voicemail. We now are accepting voicemails for the Wednesday stories. and
Listener
encounters.
submissions, yes.
Listener submissions. It's speakerpipe.com, but the link will be below. Leave us voicemails. We already got some, so please do it. We have a P.O. box. Do you want to do the address?
Oh, it's P.O. Box number 75 in Ada, Ohio, 45810. Also in the link below.
Yes. The P.O. box is anything. If you want to send us postcards, you want to send us
fan art.
Yeah,
we actually got awesome fan art last week.
We got a lot of cool stuff. Anything like that. Yeah. We have the merch website. All kinds of cool stuff. There should be some new t-shirt designs down there. There'll always be kind of some new stuff floating around. That's below as well. Conferences this month. Next week is the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival, the outdoor festival. We're going to be there. It's going to be so much fun.
At the end of August?
Yep, in Logan, Ohio.
Yeah.
Sorry. No.
Oh, sorry. That was at the beginning of
And
August.
then the end of August is Squonkapalooza in Johnstown.
Jamestown.
No.
Yes.
Jamestown?
Yes. Yes. Jamestown.
I don't think it is.
Oh, why do we do this every time?
I think it's Johnstown. Anyways, the link will be below. It's in Pennsylvania. We are speakers. It's going to be so much fun. They're doing so much extra stuff. It's a free event. Come out, hang out. We're going to have a ball.
Oh, you're right. It is Johnstown.
I thought so.
I'm the moron. Johnstown, Central Park, Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Come one, come all. It's going to be really, really fun.
It's going to be a ball.
If you can make it to this,
come.
It will be an absolute blast. Bring the family. It'll be amazing.
It's a good family event.
Yeah, we're very much looking forward to it. If you haven't listened to our episode, our interview with Joe, where the promoter putting on this event, or one half of them, it's just going to be a blast. So check that out. Come have fun with us.
And then Freudian Airwaves. That's our event we're helping put on. It's here in Ada, Ohio. It's going to be a whole weekend event. It's going to be so much fun. Panels. It's a 3-day event. So there's panels on Friday. There's speakers and shopping and panels on Saturday and a pancake dinner. at the Ada Bowling Alley.
Breakfast.
The breakfast. What'd I say?
Dinner.
Oh, pancake breakfast. Ada Bowling Alley on Sunday before you guys leave. And for our listeners, I think we're going to try to hold you back after the breakfast. We're going to let the bowling alley clear out, and we're going to hold you guys back. And we think we're going to let you guys see a premiere documentary. So you guys get to see one in person.
So that's 40 in airwaves.
Tickets below.
Live podcasting super event extravaganza.
That's Uncomfortable, Kill the Mockingbirds,
Us.
Appalachian Intelligence, The Bump,
And Hollow Skies.
and Hollow Skies.
So is that everything?
I think so. Now if you're coming to a show, let us know. I know some people have already reached out about hockey and squonk, but please, I try to learn faces. I try to learn names as well, but it's easier to be like, hey, I know you. You know, it's in the face. So let us know you're coming. You're trying to contact us for either supporting the show or running an ad or whatever. Email's the best way, and that's cryptidsthecornpodcast@gmail.com. All right. New reviews. So we've had our season break.
Okay, new reviews. Let's knock these out real fast.
I'm going to try, but there's a lot of them.
Oh, should we save? Let's do some now and do some at the end.
I already did.
What?
Oh, so some now, some at the end?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the next week's episode has all... So I did all the Apple reviews on this one, and
Okay.
next week's has all the Spotify.
Okay.
Just to kind of break them up since there's so many.
That way we get through this so we can get to the episode.
All right. BCA Velas.
Okay.
BCA Velas. I'm hooked on the powerful mystery and J-Clone. It took a worm. Yep, a worm episode to get me hooked on these two guys sharing their love of cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. Totally worth a listen because you never know where Justin will lead you. And with Jay's positive vibes, anything can happen.
Ooh, positive vibes. All right.
Squatting Dog 907. Well played. I wanted to dole out a 5-star review that this show deserves at my convenience, but it does nothing for the algorithm, and I've decided to give it all to you at once with great inconvenience to myself. The work you guys do is so impressive, and the level of sacrifice and this level of scientific security and research that makes it even better. So please keep putting out those banger episodes. Well, thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
And the last one, I'll read the last 3 at the end, but I got one more.
Oh, we can. Hey, you know what? Let's just knock them all out.
All right.
Let's just knock them
Gara
out.
Bird 1. Gria Bird? Is this Ralph? I don't think so. The title is absolutely amazing. I found the show browsing for new crypto podcasts and stumbled upon this treasure trove. This podcast is amazing, bringing all this great scientific aspects. I would love to hear more about Native American cryptids. 100 out of 10.
Oh, I like that.
We'll have to do more. There's a lot of Native Americans. So here's my thing, and you'll hear it on this episode.
Yeah.
Is that with Native legends of any culture, I hate doing them if I can't find good sources.
Right.
Because it's not just folklore. It's it's sometimes it's part of religion and stuff like that.
We may have a local source. I'll have to inquire.
Yeah, it just depends on which legends.
Right, exactly.
And that's kind of my big step back with a lot of the native folklores of people is because I want to do them respect, and it's very hard to find some of it.
Right.
And so I just don't do it because if I can't find a good source,
Ain't doing it.
I ain't doing it. Matt Alaska, his title is I'm loving it.
I'm loving it.
Found out about this podcast when I met these guys at Monster Fest, and I've been listening ever since. Great guys, great podcast.
Oh,
and congratulations on the new baby. Well,
thank you,
Matt. Paul Milk. Wonder who this could be.
Oh,
hey, Paul. He says, "Hey, best friends, the greatest podcast in the whole wide world."
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
You are our best friends. One of our best friends.
Cody Webb 32. Great podcast. Great podcast. Love the animal facts in the episodes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to rip through the Patreon members, but once again, we have Patreon. We're now doing 2 nights a month for our $5 and $10 tier Patreon members, where they get a game night or a movie night. It's either or on that one. And then the other night is a structured discussion.
Right.
And then me and Jay both drank at every one of those.
So if you are not on our Patreon and want to, just come at least
Links
give it a
below.
preview. Yeah.
Try it out.
Try
It's
it out.
pretty
If
fun.
you like it, stick around.
All right. Ready for our new Patreon members?
Yes.
Brandon Turman.
Welcome, Brandon.
Welcome, Brandon. Bought the first lunchbox.
What? Yes.
Remember? We did this last week.
That's right. Yeah.
Last week, as I'm recording this, this is 2 weeks ago as of when this comes out. Lear.
Lear.
Welcome, Lear.
Welcome, Lear.
Lear is like posting, commenting on everything. He always has.
Okay,
He or
nice.
she always has. I'm not actually sure. Cody Webb.
Welcome, Cody. Welcome to the Corn Cult.
Okay. The first name's Lindsay. Now I'm going to try to pronounce your last name, Lindsay. Gardolf.
Okay.
Looks like Gardolphin, but without the fin.
Okay.
Gardolf.
Like Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, no. Oh, now
Welcome, Lindsay.
it's Dolphin Man.
Oh,
Like, his
okay.
last name's like Finman.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, how was your name? Anyways,
Welcome, Lindsay. Welcome to the Corn Cult.
my last one for this round is T Hill 99. Thank you, T Hill.
Thank you. So,
All right.
Are we ready to get into it?
Yeah. So once again, season 4.
This
premiere.
is season 4. Let's go.
It's gonna be the Bunyip.
The classic Bunyip.
The Bunyip.
So
The Bunyip sounds like a disease. It's like a thing you get on your foot.
that's a bunion.
I know, but I'm just saying like Bunyip.
I know, right?
My bunyips are acting up.
I've said that before.
But before we get into this, I want to say, any of our Australian listeners, I know we have a bunch. If you have Aborigine links to the actual stories of bunyips beyond what I have in this episode, please send them to my way. We'll do a whole extra episode about the Aboriginal side of the bunyip legends in more detail. I have no good sources. I couldn't find anything. I think it's all about the search engines and stuff like that because it's just nothing besides like 2 paragraphs. And I'm like, there's tons and tons and tons of cultural importance that the bunyip has.
You didn't get on the Aboriginal servers?
I couldn't find them.
Okay.
They're hiding from me. I don't blame them. All right, you ready for the bunyip?
Yeah.
The bunyip is a creature from the Aboriginal mythology of southeastern Australia. It is said to lurk in swamps, billabongs, creeks, river bends, and watering holes.
Hmm.
Do you know what a billabong is?
I isn't that where water like recedes and it leaves like a pool? Isn't that like a little pool beside a river?
Yeah, I think you got it.
Okay.
It's here in the U.S. we call them oxbow lakes.
Oh, it's the same thing as an oxbow lake?
Not yes.
Yes and no. Pretty
Yeah.
similar.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the easiest way. If anybody here in the U.S. knows what an oxbow lake is, then yes. So a billabong is a body of water that's right next to a river, like Jay said, or it's a swamp, a river, anything like that,
Yeah.
that has seasonal flow into it.
Hmm.
So it means during like high rainy season, water gets put in, new fish get put in, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the rest of the year, it's unconnected.
Gotcha.
And like here, oxbow lakes are very important in the U.S. for a lot of our fish species and stuff like that. But they're also very important for Australia as well.
Mm.
But billabongs are very, very dangerous places. It's said to be the home of the bunyip.
The bunyip lives in billabongs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not just the bunyip. There's a lot of stuff in Australia that lives in billabongs you shouldn't mess with.
Oh, okay.
But it's just,
He's just one of them.
he's one of them. All right, so we're going to talk about the name. The origin of the word bunyip can be traced back to the Wabba Wabba. Okay. The Wemba. Does that sound better?
Sounds more maybe
Australian?
Aboriginal.
Wemba. I'm not sure.
Wumbo?
Now, I can't pronounce our Native American language, let alone a whole other continent that has some of the oldest language on the planet. I'm going to try, though. You're going to hear me mispronounce. I'm going to go Wemba.
Okay.
Or the Wirragani language of the Aboriginal people of Victoria in southeastern Australia. The word bunyip is usually translated by Aboriginal Australians today as devil or evil spirit. The contemporary translation may not accurately represent in this role the bunyip its pre-contact Aboriginal mythology. As in, basically, the word may have changed after white people got to Australia.
Ah, okay.
Or its possible origins before written accounts were made. Some modern sources allude that the logistics or the linguistic connection between the bunyip and the Bunjalari is a mythic giant man who made the mountains, rivers, men, and all animals.
Mm.
The word bunyipi first appeared in the Sydney Gazette in 1812, and it was used by James Ivis to describe a large black animal like a seal with a terrible voice, which creates terror among the banks.
Interesting. Okay. A seal.
Yeah. There's a little bit of... We're going to get into a little bit of racism with the bunyip, too.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows.
Oh, okay.
There's-
So warning.
Yeah, there's warning. The Aborigines, just like any native people, were probably not treated the best for a long time.
No, I'm sure.
They're
they
still probably not
aren't.
treated the best.
at all. Yeah.
So distribution. The Bunyip is a part of, like I said, traditional Aboriginal beliefs and stories throughout Australia. While its name varies according to tribal nomenclature, in a book, in his book 2001, written by Robert Holden, identifies at least 9 regional variants of the creature known as the Bunyip across Aboriginal territories. So this is going to be, I guess, for North America, our closest thing would be a Wendigo.
Oh, okay. So it's more in line with that than it is. Like,
As in far as the creature carries a gigantic territory, but each individual tribe is using that word for a slightly different creature.
oh, okay.
So there's a lot of variation, which we'll talk about, between what X's tribe Bunyip looks like versus another Bunyip versus another Bunyip.
But perhaps phenotypes, right?
We'll get there. I'm trying to do the Aboriginal stuff first. Leave me alone. Okay, so the Bunyip. So we're going to talk about what it kind of looks like. And this is a hard one. Just draw someone on the wall, and that probably looks like somebody's version of a Bunyip.
Bunyip, yeah.
The Bunyip is described as an amphibious or almost entirely aquatic creature. There are no reports of the creature ever being sighted on land fully. It inhabits lakes, rivers, swamps, lagoons, billabongs, creeks, water holes, and sometimes particular water holes in the river bends. Physical descriptions of the Bunyip vary wildly. George French Augustus may have collected the descriptions of the Bunyip of his accounts of the water spirit of the Morundi people of the Murray River before 1847, stating that much dreaded by then, it inhabits the Murray, but they have some difficulties describing it. Its most unusual form, it is said to be that of an enormous starfish.
Oh, okay.
The Caesareum Bunyip is an outlined image of the Bunyip carved by Aboriginal people on the banks of the Fiery Creek near Ultra Victoria. The first recorded by the Australian newspaper. That's literally the name of it, the Australian.
Oh, okay.
In 1851. According to these reports, the Bunyip was speared after killing an Aboriginal man. Antiquarian? Have you ever heard that word?
Antiquarian?
Like antique?
Yeah, antiquarian, I think is what the word.
Sure. Rayleigh Jones claimed that until the mid-1850s, Aboriginal people made a habit of visiting the places annually and reenacting the outline of the figure of the Bunyip, which had about 11 paces long and about 4 paces wide.
That's pretty big.
The outline no longer exists. It was destroyed. But basically, this description of the Bunyip looks like a giant fat snake.
So it's not, like, I always thought the Bunyip was something that, like, stood up. Like,
We're getting there.
okay.
We're getting there.
Okay.
I'm trying to highlight the variety of what the word Bunyip is covering.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So one tribe has it as a gigantic, aquatic, monstrous starfish.
Right, yeah.
Another one is like this big, really long, really wide, almost snake-like creature.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the more traditional Bunyips.
You're right, yeah.
There's an average. Yeah, so now you made me lose my place.
I mean, but just to start off, it's probably not just one thing, I'm assuming.
I guess this is all about basically that.
Perspective?
Yeah. The Aboriginal territory was massive.
Oh, yeah. It's
And like we said, the Wendigo, like the word Wendigo is like acquaints to like evil winter spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And is very different descriptions depending on where you go and how it's made and stuff like that.
Right.
This is something similar but different to that. That it's a name of their boogeyman almost. I do think there is a real creature to this boogeyman, but everybody's boogeyman is a little different.
Okay.
The Bunyip are presumed seen by witnesses, according to the descriptions, most commonly fit in 2 categories. 60% of sightings resemble a giant seal-like creature or a swimming dog. So these are the ones that are seen most of the time. 20% of the sightings are a long-necked creature with a small head. The remaining descriptions are ambiguous among characterization. So it's like the rest of them are just random. They see some kind of thing, and they call it a Bunyip.
Gotcha.
So a lot of the Bunyips are this almost seal that stands on all fours, can chase you, has this giant like teeth, it has claws, it's very aggressive. or even more dog-like with hair and stuff like that hanging off it. Like big, almost chunks of like flesh hanging off it and stuff like that.
Ugh, okay.
And they're very aggressive.
Yeah.
And then the other is this long neck, small head, same big teeth, same claws, but like the animal is stretched out.
Okay.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
Or is it?
So it's like both. Well, okay. 2 different counts, 2 different sounding creatures, but still bunyip.
So according to these reports, these bunyips have rounded heads resembling that of almost a bulldog, short pointed ears, no tail, whiskers like that of a seal or an otter. The long neck variety is allegedly between 5 and 15 feet long and is said to have a black or brown fur, large ears, small tusk, the head of a horse or an emu.
What?
Yeah, an elongated mane neck and about 3 feet with many folds of skin and a horse-like tail. So there's 2 different, very different bunyips.
Very.
There's a third we'll get to in a bit. Well, I'll just keep getting there. Aboriginal mythology can swim very swiftly on its fins or flippers. It has a loud roaring call and feeds mostly on crayfish and mollusk.
Oh, okay.
It will eat you, but it's bunyips are portrayed as bloodthirsty predators, particularly for women and children. But they are very much in their mythology. If you leave their area, you don't go to their territory, you don't get eaten by a bunyip.
Right. It sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah. As a result, Aborigines previously avoided unfamiliar bodies of water, where the last were the bunyips lurking in the depths. Bunyip eggs are allegedly laid in platypus nest.
That's weird.
The bunyip appears in. Now here's a word I'm gonna try to pronounce. There's a lot of R's, a lot of J's, and a lot of N's.
Okay.
Narga Radurian.
Narga Radurian.
The Narga Radurian dreaming as water spirits called the Marawaka, which would get anybody taken more than their fair share of fish from the waterways. They would get basically these creatures would take their children if the humans were harvesting too much fish from any given waterway.
Okay.
So they think that maybe one of the bunyips is like this equalizer.
Yeah, it's like a protection spirit, that kind of lives in the river or water systems, maybe. It's like, take for too much from me, I'm going to take from you.
Yeah, it's just your kids.
Well, yeah, because you're pretty much taking the river's kids, so.
Now, there's a lot of sightings of bunyips since white colonial settlement.
Okay.
So there's not been any shortages. You already getting some encounters, or do you have anything to say so far?
It's weird so far having the different descriptions. I know we've talked about bunyip before. I've discussed it.
So literally, I've seen pictures, like Aboriginal descriptions of it looking almost like a water panther.
Yeah.
This big, imagine like a big heavy set cat.
Yeah.
With these flipper legs with big
so
claws, more seal-like. And by that I mean almost Serenian, almost like a manatee or a dugong.
Yeah.
It's very odd. And then this other thing is this, like, there are some Aboriginal descriptions. It looks like a thinned, like a fish that's starving to death with legs, claws, and this big, almost like sucker mouth.
But both are being
and then
called,
a giant starfish.
Yeah, and then they're all being called bunyip. It's all very odd to me right now, and not what I had envisioned in my head when we discussed bunyip previously.
Good.
Not at all.
The starfish one I wanted to do a whole episode on.
I just wonder, I mean, that's got to be a mis-ID for something else, though, right? Because
the giant starfish?
But why is the starfish doing in freshwater billabong? Is there freshwater starfish?
Early encounters of European settlers. During the early settlement of Australia by Europeans, it's noted that it became commonly held that the bunyip was an unknown animal that was awaiting discovery. So at this point, most Europeans
knew of it,
believed it was real.
Yeah, just never seen it.
Yeah. So we'll get to the Aborigines telling the white people about the bunyips, and that they had mythological creatures and they had physical creatures and they had creatures in between.
Yeah.
And the bunyip almost always, most of the time, got placed in the physical creature kind of realm.
Gotcha. Okay.
They talked about like crocodiles.
Right. Okay.
And you gotta remember, Australia has the biggest crocodiles in the, some of the biggest crocodiles in the world, and has a lot of deaths due to crocodiles. So Yeah, they're putting him in the same kind of category as crocodiles.
There must be something physical about them.
So the white settlers, unfamiliar with the sights and the sounds of the island continent, particular fauna, early Europeans believed that the bunyip described to them was one more of Australia's very strange animals, and sometimes attributed unfamiliar calls and sounds and cries in the night with them. Scholars suggested that also in the 19th century, bunyip lore was reinforced by imported or European folklore, such as the Irish puka.
The puka?
Mm-hmm.
I like the term bunyip lore.
Bunyip lore.
I want to, if I had like
Maybe that'll be
a band, I'd write an instrumental song
called
Bunyip Lore.
Maybe that'll be a season 4 T-shirt.
Bunyip Lore.
A large number of bunyip sightings occurred in the 1840s and the 1850s, particularly in the southwestern or the southeastern colonies of Victoria, New South Wales, and southern Australia. As European settlers expanded their reach, the following is not an exhaustive list of accounts, but it is some of the highlights. So our first one, we're going to go all the way back to 1818.
Okay.
One of the earliest accounts of the bunyip occurred in 1818, when explorer James Morheen and Hamilton Hune discovered large bones in Lake Budapest in New South Wales. They did not call the creature a bunyip, but described the remains very similar to a manatee or a hippopotamus.
Oh, wow.
So we have a lot of dead bunyips, don't worry.
But a lot of dead bunyips? Okay.
So they see these bones, and the guys had both seen hippos, and they'd both seen manatees. They were explorers. The bones reminded them of so most people don't realize this, like manatees and hippos have very dense, wide bones.
Right, so they sink.
Yeah.
Right?
Because basically manatees swim, but most of the time manatees and dugongs, they kind of like crawl along the bottom.
Yeah. And hippos,
And then
walk,
hippos
on the
walk
bottom.
on the bottom.
Yeah.
So Australia has no hippos, and it has no manatees.
Okay.
What I mean by that is Indian manatees are kind of there. Like
Sometimes they
could
visit.
end up. As far as I know, they're not there.
Yeah.
But it's not that far of a stretch.
Makes sense.
But this isn't in the middle of the continent.
Oh, okay. Oh, right in the middle?
Not right in the middle, but many miles from coastline.
Yeah, and there's not too much. I mean, that's
Somebody would notice somebody else dragging a manatee across the Australian outback.
At least through, once you get it there, yeah, exactly.
Somebody's going to be like, all right, I can't do it. I always sound like John Wayne when I try to do a Australia.
All right, Pilgrim.
Yeah. What's
Get
old
that?
Tom dragging a manatee on a cart out into the outback? Found it on the beach.
Oh, my gosh. On a walkabout.
On a walkabout. No, so they found these big, wide bones. And as far as I could tell, no skull was found.
Okay, that's kind of a big indicator, or a big...
They just found a pile of bones.
Right, exactly. So it could be anything,
Scout,
really.
But they were very, very large bones.
Okay.
So at this point, Australia didn't have a lot of large mammals left.
But yeah, well, I mean, they still probably had the megalomania, right?
Megalania.
Megalania,
And
not
that was
megalomania.
a reptile.
Oh, so their bones are different, or what?
Yeah, very.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very. You can tell reptile bones.
But still, either way, Australia is full of a lot of
All I'm
weird.
saying is these bones were probably definitely mammalian,
Yeah,
and they were a very large animal.
maybe a Paraceratherium.
No, but I like the thought.
Yeah,
Ready for some more bones?
just immediately. No.
Ready for some more bones?
Oh, yeah, I like bones.
In the mid-1830s, fossilized bones were discovered by George Rankin and later again by Thomas Mitchell in the Wallington Caves in New South Wales. British atomilarist Sir Richard Owens identified the fossils as an ancient marsupial. He couldn't decide whether it was either Diprotodon or Northarium. Both giant mammals of Australia that were marsupials.
Okay.
So Diprotodon was, imagine like a wombat, but like the size of a rhino.
Oh, okay, that's pretty big.
Yeah, and that's kind of the niche they filled.
Yeah.
They were some of the biggest megafauna. Like that's what Megalania was eating.
Is there rhino in Australia?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay.
So marsupials pretty much took every mammal niche.
Which is weird. Like, why are marsupials? Are they only in Australia?
No,
But there's a majority of them are. Correct?
most are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think pretty much any mammal that's not, or any marsupial that's not in Australia is one of the possums.
Okay,
So like
gotcha.
we have American possums, we have opossums. There's also golden possums of South America. Like there's several species in South America. So marsupials are a very ancient order of mammal.
Yeah.
Pouched mammals are very odd. So it's still getting that process of having a womb
Yeah.
because they don't have a womb.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That's what the pouch is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen. You ever seen possums give birth?
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. If
So,
you don't know at home,
Red
they'll-
kangaroos give birth to like 30 different jelly bean sized babies.
Yeah.
And there's only have 2 tits.
Oh, it's only 2 make it.
Yeah.
The 2 that.
So whoever fused to it first, and they
Yeah.
almost like fuse to it.
Yeah. And that's kind of like the same with possums.
I've seen like the mom eat them off for belly and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's nutrients.
But it's so weird because they only have front legs. So
Oh,
they're
gotcha.
like embryos crawling across her stomach
Yeah.
to get into her pouch.
And she's like picking at them.
Mm-hmm. It's weird.
Possums do the same thing. Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the first written word, or the first time the written word Bunyip showed up.
Okay.
1845. In July 1845, the Geelong Advertiser announced the discovery of a fossil near the Geelong, which is a river, under the headline, Wonderful Discovery of a New Animal. This was a continuation of a story of the fossil remains that were previously talked about. The newspaper continued, one of the bones being shown on an intelligent, once again, I said there's a lot of racism coming up.
Okay.
This is racist. This is 1845.
Okay.
The newspaper says, the continuation of the story, blah, blah, blah. One of the bones being shown to an intelligent black.
Oh my god.
He at once recognized it as belonging to a bunyip, which is declared he had seen.
So bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
So our good friends, Weird Crap in Australia, they did a whole thing about like the Aboriginals. There was like a price on their head for a long time.
Aboriginals?
Yeah, they were being hunted.
People?
Yeah, people were hunting people
That's
for money.
so awful. That's
Like,
so awful.
Literally, I think it was equivalent of like $5
Mm,
for each Aboriginal you brought in alive, and like $3 for each one you brought it dead.
that's so awful.
And then other Aboriginals were turning in other Aboriginals, and then they were taking them all anyways to try to save their own skin. It was crazy. Listen to Weird Crap in Australia. Great friends of the show.
Yeah, they are. Awesome podcast, actually.
Yeah. Anyways, so it just there's a lot of racism popped up.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I promise this story did not happen in West Virginia.
Okay.
It
Good.
just seems like it. So, anyways, an intelligent black. He once recognized it as belonging to a bunyip that he had declared he had seen before in his life. On being requested to make a drawing of it, he did so without hesitation, according to a note of the story of an Aboriginal woman being killed by the bunyip. And the most direct evidence of all, a man who was named Mubronian, who showed several deep wounds that the beast had made on the claw with its claws on the guy's back.
Oh, wow.
The account provided this description of the creature. The bunyip, then, is a representative of a uniting in the characteristics of bird and an alligator. It is resembled that of an emu with a long bill and at the extremities in which it was traversing projectiles at each end, with segmented edges like a bone of a stingray. Its body and legs partaked of the nature of that of an alligator. Its hind legs are remarkably thick and strong. Its forelegs are much longer but still have great strength. The extremities are furnished with long claws, but the blacks say its usual method of killing its prey is hugging it to death. That's important. When in the water, it swims like that of a frog. When on shore, it walks on its hind legs. When its head's erect, in which position it measures 12 to 13 feet in height. Shortly after this account, it was repeated in the Australian newspaper and appeared to be the first use of the word bunyip in written publication.
Wow.
So this is the other type of one I didn't really get to talk about, is this giant bird dinosaur thing.
Yeah. That sounded very odd description, almost like a hodgepodge of animals.
Now, I don't know at this point, so we're going to talk about animals in Australia later.
Yeah.
But the cassowary is an Australian bird.
Okay.
It is the big one, blue face, black feathers, giant claws like a velociraptor. It looks like a dinosaur. They are the deadliest bird on Earth.
Okay.
They kill a lot of people, specifically Aborigines.
Yeah.
This bird will run and gut you.
Got you. Right. Exactly.
Like, people do not realize, like, ostriches are pretty strong and scary and whatever. These the cassowaries will run over to eviscerate you. They will literally try to remove your innards. That's what they do. They aim for your stomach.
Yeah.
I'm
Pull 'em
not.
open.
It's what they do. It's like literally, it's all they think about.
They're psychos.
I've read stories of Aboriginal men like having to stay in trees for like 3 or 4 days at a time.
Because it wouldn't leave them alone.
They wouldn't leave them alone.
Yeah.
And then every time it got tired, its mate would trade places.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it sounds awful. It sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. So I kind of think with this story, that's what's happening.
You think it's a cassowary?
Is that the guy was attacked by a cassowary.
Okay.
And that's what he had, the scars of a cassowary.
On his back,
Yeah.
yeah.
They found bones of an ancient cassowary.
Like a previous bigger one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And there was the devil duck of Melbourne,
the devil duck.
which is a terror bird,
Okay.
which is a gigantic version.
Yeah, those are scary.
But same kind of deal, but just gigantic with a big axe bill.
Gotcha.
So I think that's what this story's happening. And like we talked about the word bunyip, it gets used for every monster.
Yeah.
Not saying it's not used correctly, but it's like, keep minus the boogeyman.
It's almost like a blanket term for anything like big and scary.
Each tribe's boogeyman.
Exactly, yeah.
Each tribe's dealing with a little bit slightly different boogeyman. Now, let's talk about 1946. The Bunyip skull.
So we're
is
jumping
turned in.
ahead about 100 years?
No, the last story was 45.
Yeah. Oh, you said 18 or 19?
1846.
Okay, gotcha.
Or 1846. I'm sorry. I maybe did say 19.
Maybe did or I misheard you. I don't know.
It happens. So
Okay.
in July of 1846, a particular skull was taken by a settler from the banks of the Boogie River near Burland in southern Wales, or South Wales, sorry. Initial reports suggested that it was the skull of some unknown species to science. The spatter, or the squatter who found it, remarks, all the natives to whom I have showed it to call it Bunyip. But July 1847, several experts from South Wales, Murrican, and Professor Owen had identified the skull as a deformed fetal skull of a foal or a calf. I'm going to get back to that. They couldn't tell if it was a horse or a cow.
There's a big difference.
Let me get to that. Let me finish the story. At the same time, it was promptly portrayed as a Bunyip skull. It was put on display in the Australian Museum in Sydney for 2 days. Visitors flocked to see it. The Sydney Morning Herald reported that many people spoke out about their Bunyip sightings. Reports of this discovery used the phrase kinperit as well as Bunyip. So they were calling it both things.
Okay.
Explorer William Hovell, who examined the skull, also called it kinperit. In March of the year, the Bunyip or the Emusi platypus, was sighted, sunning itself on the placid blossoms of the Yarran, just opposite of Custom House in Melbourne. Immediately, a crowd gathered, and 3 men set off in a boat to secure the stranger, which disappeared. And when they were about a yard from him. So I'll get to that second thing because it's all the same year. This skull,
Yeah.
weird.
Do you have a picture of it? Or did you see one?
It's 1847.
True. Never mind. There's no picture.
I have several sketches and they don't look the same.
Yeah.
So you can pick whatever one you like.
But
There's ones that make it look like a fetal like a deformed fetal calf skull, like Bubblehead.
Yeah.
And there's other ones that make it look more interesting.
Okay.
So, in my opinion, and this is my opinion as a season opener, you would be able to tell. I don't care how deformed it is.
If it's a calf skull.
Or a foal, which horse or a cow. Horses still have canines.
Okay.
Horses still have their teeth symmetry is completely different than a lot of other grazers.
Yeah.
Now, if you told me it was a different kind of grazer in a cow, I'd be more likely to believe it, like a sheep or something like that.
Yeah.
This is a horse. We're talking about the very different skeletal structures. Horses are their family order is so different than a lot of other grazers. That's why they're kind of weird.
Okay.
Like they're not true ruminants and stuff like that. Like if you told me it's a different type of ruminant, it just is weird to me that they couldn't pick.
What's a ruminant?
4-chambered stomach,
Gotcha.
like a big gut.
I need to know.
Big gut. So there's a lot of herbivores to ruminants. Like
Right,
they have
yeah.
big guts to digest their plant matter.
Yep.
I think this person, I don't know. I think Professor Owen just wanted it to stop.
So he's put that label on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this
It's
is
either
what
a
it is.
foal or a cow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did they leave yet?
Which,
Are they gone?
Yeah. Some depictions of this make it look very Serenian.
Mm.
So for everybody at home, that's manatee and dugongs.
Mm.
Others make it look very pinniped, seal. So, and then like I said, others make it look very horse. Others make it look very cow.
So it's in the eye of the beholder, pretty much.
Yeah.
The guy drawing the sketch or
But
who they paid to draw it.
Thousands of people seen it.
Yeah.
So everybody, like, these are all, like, there's a bunch of them, like, descriptions of it.
Yeah.
Now, that same year, this giant bunyip or giant platypus was seen in, where was it? Melbourne, sunning itself in, like, a local park. There's an old documentary about the bunyip I watched a long time ago as a kid, and this is the story they depict.
Okay.
Literally, it's, like, in a swamp in the middle of a park.
And it's just hanging out in the basking.
It's basking on the bank,
Yeah.
and people kind of describe it as being a giant platypus. But I mean, a 20-foot-long platypus.
Right. Giant. Truly a giant.
So they get a bunch of men get in their boats and get ropes and they get stuff, and they start kind of getting close to it, and it doesn't it just kind of dives. Didn't hurt anybody, doesn't freak out. And then a couple ladies eventually claimed that they seen it. Like there's like a little hump before it goes back, like before the swamp enters the river.
Okay.
They kind of said it kind of slithered over that. Like the way they described it, you ever seen like everybody at home a giant salamander that's on land? The giant Japanese salamander, they put them on land and they kind of crawl.
Okay.
But they're really flat to the ground.
Right, yeah.
Because they don't want to be on land.
Right.
That's kind of what everybody described it as to me.
Okay, so what
Is
is
it-
up, like off the ground
Yeah,
running?
it was very flat. Like it did not want to be out of the water, but it could if it had to.
Gotcha.
What do you think so far?
It's very odd.
Giant platypus? Horse?
Or all of the above.
Bird?
Experiment?
No, I don't think-
radioactive fallout.
I don't think anything in Australia has to be an experiment. It's just Australia.
I know it's our the whole continent's an experiment.
That's where God threw everything in it's like God's junk drawer.
Yeah, it's his ketchup drawer. Where he's got all this baggage of ketchup in there.
Sir, we don't know where to put this animal.
Throw it in the drawer.
Australia.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
You'll find it'll literally has every habitat. You'll find somewhere it wants to live.
it'll find a place to live.
All right, William Buckley's account of the Bunyip, 1852. Bunyip. After this one, we're gonna take our break.
Jaws.
I can get your Bunyip. I need a bigger boat. Bunyip. Wilford Brimley. Diabetes. Another early written account. I said elderly because I was thinking of Wilford Brimley. Another early written account attributes an escaped convict William Buckley's in his 1852 biography of 30 years of living in the with the Rotherung people. So he's an escaped convict. His 1852 account records in Lake Mararawari, now Lake Madarar, as well as the most other inland as very extraordinary, or was a very extraordinary amphibious animal, which the natives called the bunyip. Berkeley's account suggests that he saw such a creature on several occasions. He adds, I could never see any full part of it except its back, which appeared to be covered with feathers of a dusky gray color. It seemed, it seemed to be about the size of a full-grown calf. A full-grown calf's a cow, just so everybody knows. I could never learn from any of the natives that they had seen either hide nor tail of it. Buckley also claimed that the creature was common in the Barrow River and cites the examples he heard from Aboriginal women being killed by one. He emphasized that the bunyip was believed to have supernatural powers. So he lived with these people for 30 years, the native Aborigines. And he would see it, he's seen it a handful of times. And the Aborigines all kind of said that, like, that's the most we see of it.
It's just that little bit.
Yeah, because we leave.
Pieces, yeah.
When they see it, they leave.
Yeah.
Because it murders people.
It's a harbinger.
Well, no, it's not like the Mothman. Like, people have seen bunyips rip people in half.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
It's like the Mothman's like weird stuff happens around it. No, like the bunyip comes out of the water, just rips you in half.
He guts you and eats you.
Yeah. So we're going to take our break, then we'll continue our stories. We still have a couple more, and then we're going to get to some bunyip hunts.
Okay.
They've tried to hunt it.
Bad idea.
All right, guys. We'll be back.
And we're back. Hope you
Yes.
enjoyed that little break.
Yeah, we just sat here the whole time. There's no real break. There ain't no rest for the wicked. Okay. Squatacolor. Oh my gosh, I hate this guy's name. Edwin Squatacolor.
Let's just stick with Ed.
Old Ed. In an article entitled The Bunyip in 1857, a newspaper reported of a drawing made by Ed as he traveled from the Murray to Goulburn, or from the Murray to the Goulburn rivers. Amongst the letters in the drawings, we notice a likeness of the bunyip, or rather the view of the neck and the shoulders of the animal. Edwin informed us that the bunyip was a large freshwater seal, having two small pectoral fins attached to its shoulders, a long swan-like neck, and a head like that of a dog, and a curious bag hanging underneath its jaw.
A bag?
Think of a pelican.
Okay.
Like that of it was a pelican. The animal's covered with fur like a platypus, and the color is a glossy black or gray. Edwin saw no less than 6 of these curious animals at different times. His boat was within 30 feet of one near McGuire's Pont on the Goulburn River, and he fired at the bunyip, but did not succeed in capturing the animal. The smallest appeared to be about 5 feet in length, and the largest exceeded well over 15 feet in length. The head of the largest was the size of a bullock's head, like a bull.
Gotcha.
And 3 feet out of the water. After taking a sketch of the animal, Edwin showed it to several blacks of the Goulburn tribe, who declared it as the picture was a bunyip, or a bunyip brother, meaning a disciple or the likeness of the bunyip. The animal moved against the current at a rate of about 7 miles per hour, and the specimen, and Edwin states that he could have approached close to the specimen he observed, but he not dared by the stories of the natives concurring with the power and the fury of the bunyip.
I would not.
And the fact that he had his gun on him only was a single barrel and a single shot. And his boat was very frail.
Wait, what do you have? One of those...
1847.
I know. What are those
57.
big guns called where you...
A blunderbuss?
Yeah, a blunderbuss.
No, he's saying his gun is only one shot and he didn't want to get close to it and try to shoot it.
Yeah, one shot. That's a blunderbuss. It's just one big barrel. It's just one shot.
Most guns in history were a single shot.
What do you mean? I mean, they got like a Colt revolver.
You're thinking of like maybe in America at this time?
Okay.
Like black powder rifles and stuff like that were all single shot.
Oh, yeah, true.
No, guns for most of history were single shot.
Oh, yeah. All right, whatever.
I don't know why you went to blunderbuss.
I don't know. That's just the first thing that popped in my head.
That's a cannon.
I know. He's got that. I only got one shot. I ain't wasting it.
Guess what? If he had a blunderbuss, I think the bunyip would be dead.
It'd be in pieces.
I literally watched one of those stories of one of the reenactments, and somebody put a bunch of like forks in a blunderbuss.
Oh yeah, I've seen those too. Forks, just glass, like everything.
Okay, the description vary across newspaper accounts, but the great bunyip question seems likely brought to a close as Edwin, an artist and the gentleman who had come up from Murray in a small boat, states that when he saw one and was able to draw it and answer these vexed questions, but could not succeed in catching him. We have seen the sketches, and we put our minds to the hybrids between a water mole and the great sea serpents. So you can look up Edwin's Scorchacolor. Edwin Scorchacolor.
Yeah, his account, his full account.
Yeah, it looks like a big water panther seal.
Yeah, and that's when you were talking earlier. There was a couple accounts where it did give you that seal vibe, but I don't know if I can believe it's an actual seal.
And then the feathers on the back and stuff like that.
That's
like a lot of the seal ones have the feathers.
And that could be attributed to actual feathers or just like weird matted fur pattern or something. I don't know. Or like wrinkly fur, with wrinkly skin with fur on it that could resemble like how feathers when they're laid down.
Yeah,
I could see that.
All right. There's been several hunt attempts. These are kind of hard to research, but we're going to get into them.
Okay.
But before we get into that, you have anything?
I mean, just to recap everything, whatever this is, it's not, I don't think it's just one thing. Or if it is, there may be it's kind of like got that Bigfoot vibe where it's something physical is going on, but there may be something more, what's the word? Metaphysical or something more, like elemental to it too. Like where it's one of those creatures that are kind of, I don't know, something scary that's manifested from The earth, the ground.
How would you pronounce the word Koolunga?
Koolunga. Kulunga.
Koolunga. We'll go with Koolunga.
Okay.
The Great Koolunga Bunyip Hunt of 1883.
Always sounds like fun.
When did the Civil War in the U.S. end?
Oh, you're asking a guy that did not pay attention in school.
So the Bunyip.
I think it ended
about the Bunyip.
I think it ended a long time ago.
How did you say this?
Kulunga.
Koolunga is a South Australian town. Population 195. It's the equivalent of a one-horse town. You'll have to try to find it on a map, but I pretty much
Good luck.
Like everybody just gives the geo coordinates. But it's on the Barthenton River. Yet in the early 1883, there was a center of a colorful bunyip hunt, which kept the rest of the continent amused for a long time as it ended with a blast. No doubt, many readers of the Queensland in the Tasmanian were asking themselves at the time, what the blank or where the blank is Koolunga. It's like Ada, just like some town out in the middle of nowhere. This is the area apparently favorable for the bunyips. Back in 1876, we talked about there was some sightings, but there was one basically seen in Crystal Brook. Another one was seen in the Rocky River, not here in Ohio. Another one was seen in the Broadtura in 1853. So this little area has tons and tons and tons of bunyip sightings, even for its general area having a lot of bunyip sightings. But yeah. So it started off with a dispatch to Koolunga dated January 22nd, published the South Australian Register in Aberdeen, sure, through the 25th of January 1883 on page 7, sandwiched between reports of harvest, weather, church reports. The paragraph states, a great sensation has been caused in the last few days, the reports of a bunyip having been seen in the river near Whitecliff. The reports were so authenticated that a large party of gentlemen have organized a special force so that all through the investigation of the truth for them, they are now in the field of operations, where it is intended to capture the bunyip by the aid of dynamite.
Oh, yeah. Where have we heard this story before?
Bosco.
Exactly. I'm sure this will end well.
I think this is Bosco's cousin.
Yeah, it's like their equivalent.
The same page also includes the provisional telegram from Koolunga dated January 24th to the effect that the bunyip was in a large water hole near the Barthenton River near Freeman's homestead. And now as we fast forward a few weeks on page 8, the Port Alderdean News on Friday, the February 16th. A great excitement has been caused by the bunyip. Several attempts have been made to capture it, but yet none have been successful. Still, several gentlemen are subgenuine to success and are preparing a lot of dynamite charges to be used in the next water hole to the bunyip is seen to enter. No doubt many people are speculative about the existence of such a thing up there, but there is none or not the least doubt that some sort of creature has been seen, and it hides itself in the goings underwater in the deep holes. But the name and nature of the animal is yet to be proven. 4 persons whose word can be trusted have positively declared that they have seen it. Finally, the bank clerk in Clare called Clark. That's a tongue twister. Who doubled as a newspaper correspondent, decided to see for himself, and his fantastic account was published in the newspaper, and the earliest appeared to have been on page 6, and I'll read that here in a second. It's crazy. So there's been several hunts for this creature. I believe this particular account had several livestock and animals go missing.
Okay.
So far, not a lot of descriptions. I'm going to read Clark's thing here in a second.
I know one cow going missing in Koolunga is a big deal.
Well, there's only 195 people.
Exactly. That's like half their food for the, that month.
Probably, cows like a year.
Well, yeah, 100 people. 100 people would pick apart a cow pretty fast.
Oh no, I'm talking about an individual farmer, I guess.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, for sure, yeah. Actually, our family, we usually get a full cow, and it will last us a year plus.
So a cow's a big deal because it takes a 1.5 years, 2 years to get it there.
Yeah.
And then but no, animals were going missing. So, going to see the Bunyip by Clark. So many reports of this wonderful animal have reached Clare, where I am stationed, and I determined to go with opportunity offered to see with my own eyes this creature which does not appear in any natural history, but is reported to rise up out of the watering hole nightly. The watering hole in which the Bunyip is said to spend most of its existence is near Kulunga. And here's what he says. I have seen it frequently, but always at night when the moon was up, says a gentleman from Kulunga to me a few days since. It looks, he went on, something like that of a fat wether, like a horse, with a head somewhat like that of a rhinoceros. But on the back, there's either a shell or short hair. Another man told me that it was as big as a foal 2 weeks old, and it was reported that the natives told white people years and years and years ago about the Bunyip or the devil which lives in the pools. Many old residents of Clare and Kulunga and other places remember hearing such an animal having been seen, but it was always looked upon as an imaginary creature, or that it could only be seen by men who were in the condition of being unable to discern the difference between a haystack and a meat sack.
Okay.
They were drunk.
Yeah.
A lot of people go to the river to get drunk. I'm one of them.
I was going to say, it sounds familiar.
I am that person. But still, I've never been drunk enough
To where you couldn't differentiate a haystack and a meat sack?
from a monster
Yeah.
and just nothing.
Yeah.
That's not alcohol. At least our alcohol. I guess absinthe makes you see stuff.
So maybe, perhaps.
Okay.
Is that over there in Australia?
In 1857, I don't know.
They probably got something. They're probably like,
They're probably drinking cactus water.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't even have cactuses.
They don't?
No.
It's like a desert out there. Hey, cactuses. They're probably wringing out tumbleweeds and drinking that. What?
Where are cactuses native to?
I don't know, deserts?
Okay, we'll get back to that.
All right.
Okay, so through perhaps being able to capture the Bunyip and travel as a showman currently had something to do with the prompting me to go forth and wage war with him, says Clark. So basically, he's given up his bank job. He wants to capture this Bunyip because he thinks all these dumb hicks can't catch it, but me, a city bank man, can catch it. Now I'm going to make so much money off this thing.
Smart.
Yeah, there's not any movies about that.
No, not at all.
Has he ever done anyone harm? I asked my Kalugan friend. Well, I don't know that, but the children are frightened of it, and so are some of the women. Of course, men are not. No, he said. Went out with guns and shoot him. And when he saw the Bunyip, he got nervous and could not get aim straight. And then the Bunyip jumped into the water again. Are you certain you saw it? Oh, yes. On my soul I did, he says. The strange to say, the horses and the cattle will not drink from the holes at night where the Bunyip lives. I could not help but thinking that the Bunyip were near akin to Lewis Carroll's Schnark or Boogie. Different, just weird little monsters.
Okay.
Almost like they're lumber lord creatures.
Gotcha.
On Saturday, February 17th, I arranged to have a trap driven I arranged for a trap to drive 4 of us Kaluga early in the afternoon, so as to be on time to witness the Bunyip come out of the water as the moon shed her majestic rays on the hunting pool.
Nice.
Many of the Clare people cuffed at us going on such a wild goose chase. And so did the gentleman who awaits the harmless and senseless possibilities of the Clare paper under the nom de plume of idler, heard of going and reported that a consents of a satiric poem, The Bunyip Hunter. So basically, everybody's making fun of him so much for him going. He's going to this tiny little city to hunt the mythical monster.
Yeah.
So he's making so much fun of him. They post a funny poem about him in the paper.
About him.
Mm-hmm. Now, a few of the Clare people, huh?
Do we have that poem?
I don't.
Dang it.
Keep mine 1857.
I know, but how funny. I imagine, okay, we already covered the intelligent blacks, verbiage from earlier. I imagine if they're making fun of this guy, the things they actually would have said back then, too. Probably been pretty brutal.
You're just as intelligent as the blacks.
Like, gosh, it's so bad.
Yeah, oh gosh, it's bad. Aboriginal specifically. Yeah. Anyways, not a few of the Clare people looked surprised when they heard I was off for the day. The people I adored are those who never considered a bank clerk to go out for harm, and I've always been to be at the customer's beck and call and to go willingly, no matter what hour of day or night, to return to the bank to change currency and the negligent cashing during business hours. No one but the bank clerk who has experienced it can think of how unpleasant it is to be hunted down by a customer who wants change. Some customers are actually so anxious to get change that they will not think twice before rousing the bank clerk out of bed, even in hours of 3 of the night. So he's basically saying, being a bank clerk sucks.
Yeah.
And all these people suck.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go hunt the bunyip and become a traveling carnival.
Yeah, this will be better.
It was a lovely afternoon, and the drive was most enjoyable. We stopped a few minutes into Rochester. How strange it seems now for any township not to be connected to the other ones via telegraph wires. How isolated one feels now dwelling in such a township, and how fresh the staleness of news seems to be inhabitants of such a place. The wire has not yet been carried to Kalunga, and we have heard no news of how the Englishmen were getting on the cricket until Sunday, when the 2 buggers from Clare arrived, and one which was a bunyip hunter were. When they arrived in Kalunga, we had tea at the hotel. There's such English stuff. And as soon as we digested some, we started to see the bunyip. We followed announcements on the place hung up at the bar. The Kalunga Hotel attendees that noticed any attempts will be made on Wednesday, the 21st of February, to capture the bunyip, which will last seen at the waterhole near the Freeman's farm. Dynamite will be used. A start will be made from the Kalunga Hotel at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, February 17th, 1883. Now, this place seemed to be added much to our belief of the existence of the bunyip. I do not wish to flatter the Kalunga people, but I must say that they are without any exception of very worse people than I've ever come across from directing on one certain point.
I don't know if I understand.
I know. It's English talk, 1883, Australia.
Okay.
Basically, he gets there, and there's like posters saying like, hey, everybody, we're going to go kill the bunyip this day. We're going to start at the bar at 2 o'clock. We're going to dynamite it, and then we're going to blow it up. Like, we're going to kill it. Please don't make any attempts on it until this date.
Right.
Because we don't want to scare it off into another watering hole.
Right.
We kind of know where it's hiding right now. And he's like, he being a bank clerk from a nice town is like, I don't really want to compliment these people, but these are the worst people I've ever seen.
Yeah, so awful.
I feel like that's like all the ONU kids that come to Ada.
I was thinking similar, like coming
all
to
these
rich
small kids that come to the
town.
small. These are the worst monsters I've ever seen, and we're just sitting here staring at corn.
Yeah, hey, it's wonderful.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. We left Kalunga at 7:20, and we were told that the distance of about 4 miles to the watering hole where the bunyip was, that we had to keep to the river, and we could not go wrong. After keeping to the twist and twirling of the river, we having walked considerably more than 5 miles, I saw the distance in a house in the window in which was a light glimmered. Leaving my friends to ramble along the slough, I went up to the house, encouraged by several dogs, and asked the way to the hunting hole. The Irishwoman opened the door, and the answer to my question, ain't no more than a mile away across the river down there. Keep up the side, and you will come across some tents. It's just there. In Scotland, when the man tells you, and you're about 3 miles and a wee bit, always from a place, you can rarely be a wee bit, and oftentimes it's more than 3 miles.
Yeah, a wee bit.
Have you ever seen wee bit written out? It's weird.
I guess not.
It was in some of the cases, ain't no more than a mile, was at least 2 to 4 miles.
So it's
at
a
least the
tent jump, it sounds like to me.
At least the tents came into view, and we noticed a man was carrying water from the river. He was addressed, and he, regardless of grammar, said, this guy is so like up and tidy.
Yeah, well, he's a banker.
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect?
It's just 200 perch, about a kilometer from here. I gave rise to the examination among us, and that was a perch. I bet he made, a bet was made, and by the time I paid my expresses to the bunyip and back again, my opponent believed it took 6 yards to take a perch. It was only about 5.5 feet. Just, I don't know. They're doing this weird stuff.
Right, yeah.
But basically, yeah, he keeps going. So they get up to a numberless paloon of paddocks we waded through, and countless paddocks of suburb we passed over, the immense number of wire fences. At the last, we determined it was 3 o'clock, and we wandered no longer the state of darkness. So I jumped forward a little bit. The aurora rising. It was the middle of the Plugan paddock, having no friendly moon to smile at us. The wire fence, or even a wire fence to protect us from the brittle wind. We lay down and tried for a while to lose ourselves in the land of dreams. At about 5, we rose, refreshed by our stretch of sleep. We started off for a quick step and great appetite. When we had reached the hotel, we ordered breakfast, and although we were all hungry, not one of us enjoyed what was provided for us. Clops and steaks. I don't know what a clop is.
But the steak sounds good.
Yeah, clop and a steak were together on the same dish, and they were neither hot nor cold. And the landlady had not informed us that the roasted goose was for dinner, and we would just such like complaining. So I'm going to skip ahead again. They ate dinner at the hotel. They were anxious to go find the Bunyip. So they reached the watering hole about 8 o'clock and reminded that until 2 o'clock on Monday morning. So they got there about 8 o'clock a couple nights before. They waited until 2 o'clock on Monday when there's the hunt supposed to go.
Right.
When they returned to Clare on Sunday night, there was nothing of the Bunyip at all, but occasionally heard the splashes before described. So they keep hearing it at night. Even those of our friends who had heard the few splashes believed in the existence of the Bunyip, and they expressed the desire to make another trip out there. But when the moon was at its full, and the event of the 100 charges of dynamite, the Kluge gentleman called it, failing to put an end to this curious and interesting creature, the best of the waterhole in Kluge were on horseback. So basically, they didn't get it.
Gotcha.
Just all this work.
I was gonna say, after the way, I just like how you're just like, oh, gosh, this guy complains a lot.
And I've read it before, but it's just like now. And then so other people were seeing it like as they were detonating the charges, like people would see it like almost describe it as a whale flopping around the hole and stuff like that.
As they were blowing up dynamite, yeah.
And it got out. It got back into the river.
Yeah, gotcha.
So some people think it was a crocodile, like an unusually big crocodile they were experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think it was actual Bunyip. I don't know. What do you think? I know there's not a lot from that story.
Right.
Just some old white guy from a bank complaining.
I mean, it probably was the actual Bunyip because, I mean, people in small towns, yeah, like he said, like they're, what do you say, the nastiest people, or what do you say?
The most dreadful people
like,
that exist on the planet.
Like, okay, he sounds like not the best kind of dude, but I mean, they're not dumb. They know something's out there. They know what it is. I mean, if you live out there, especially if you're in a small town, like everybody knows everybody. It's a close-knit community. They're not going to just like have one strange guy be like, all right, bunyip hunt time, guys. Like, and no one would be involved. If they're all getting involved in the hunt, they must all believe firmly enough that it's worth going out because, there's not that much people in the town. Your resources are limited, and everyone kind of has to take care of everyone at that point, in a sense, but you're not just all going to go out of your way to go hunt something that doesn't exist, that you don't even know exists, especially if they're putting up warnings. So like, yeah, don't go out there and disturb it yet because we know where it is. Let's go blow it up, even though it didn't work. But
so fast forward several years, so Tim the Yowie Man, I can't find the actual dates he went out. Tim the Yowie Man.
Okay.
He's pretty famous in Australia.
Okay.
And this is kind of a hard story for me to research, but I think it was early 2000s he went out on, there was one in like the 80s he did a Bunyip hunt.
Okay.
Late 80s, early 90s. So supposedly he got a photograph of the Bunyip.
Ooh.
But the camera was lost on the way back.
Ah, dang it.
Because they took like all this basically like boated in, got way far up into the river.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got a picture of a Bunyip, like with its neck raised over the water, almost like a Nessie.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, he lost the camera. And he went back again 17 years later, and all he found was weird droppings, marks, slides, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, at least he's got some evidence, I guess, with the droppings and the slide marks, and it's something tangible. Something's there. But slide marks could be anything, especially in Australia.
Crocodiles.
Yeah.
Crocodiles.
Like, they're the number one
Turtles.
culprit. Turtle. Yeah, there's tons of stuff.
People.
Well,
Americans.
yeah, you sliding in and out of a river. I could see you living in Billabong.
I could live in a billabong.
Yeah.
No, I've seen some people kayaking that have to slide in and out of the river.
Oh, that makes sense too. Yeah, duh. Gosh, yeah, it could be anything, I guess. But the weird droppings, okay, that's something. But Australia's full of so many weird animals. I'm sure the droppings are equally weird.
So I have just a couple small things before we get into possibilities, and we'll talk about possibilities for a while. I know I skipped over the hunts because I just didn't have any real good sources for them. They're all like he said, she said, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
hearsay and
Figure of speech and entomology. In the 1850s, the word bunyip was also a synonym for imposter, pretender, or humbug.
Okay.
So the word bunyip in the 1850s was used for several different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just thought that was kind of neat that like people were being called bunyips and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it could mean several different things. The bunyip has been in pop culture, in fiction and film forever.
Okay.
Like there's a list that's 2 miles long.
Oh gosh. Okay. But I'm sure it's all like, Australian.
The Bunyip was a local newspaper. The Bunyip, the House of the Gentle Bunyip was a movie about low income housing. There's all the Bunyip is just everywhere, from cartoons to mascots to this, that, and the other. But yeah, okay.
Is it in the zeitgeist?
Yeah,
It's majorly in the zeitgeist.
So one thing before we get into possibilities, I'm going to talk about is the Aborigines use the Bunyip to their benefit.
Okay.
I've talked about this before on
Yes.
the show, is that Aborigines would talk about all these animals when the European settlers were killing them. They were literally had a bounty on their head like they were an animal. Like they put the bounty on the Trilocene and they put the bounty on the Aborigines.
Gosh.
You could get a pass if you were a smart black.
So bad.
It's just like, there's just, yeah, anyways, it's all horrible.
Yeah.
But the Aborigines would talk about saltwater crocodiles as nothing. Like they weren't scared of them. And then they would talk about the bunyip and be terrified. So these white settlers would see a saltwater crocodile as the scariest thing they've ever come in contact with.
Yeah.
Just a horrible monster.
So they can't even imagine.
And then the Aborigines are talking about, like, oh, that's just a crocodile. What do you mean? What are you worried about?
Yeah.
It's now the bunyip in these billabongs at night. If it's a billabong, you hear these weird calls. You better run away. Like the bunyip will come and eat you. The Aborigines kind of use this as their own underground railroad to get out of areas.
Yeah.
So literally, some of the Aborigines would at night go through an area, and go, and all these white people would just take off.
Rightfully so.
So some of the bunyip stories may have been exaggerated due to this.
So-
A practice of survival.
Who's the intelligent one now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the smart blacks.
Gosh.
It's just like
I know.
it pops up so much in the language.
So bad. Yeah.
So they get so they were using these to help move through areas that were heavily being prosecuted in for just being Aborigines.
Right. For existing.
And it's amazing how much Aboriginal culture survived because they had a bounty on their head.
I know it's.
There was people that made their whole careers
And I can't.
on hunting Aborigines.
Like, there's so much knowledge there, too. That's the sad thing.
The oldest written language, or oldest readable language on the planet.
Yeah. Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
It's not cuneiform?
42,000 years.
Okay. It's old. It's
Yeah.
pretty old.
So it's not like written. It's because it's like pictograph.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So it's like it depends on what you want to define.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But I'm talking that they can look at it and tell the story.
Right, exactly, yeah. Which their
And-
stories,
To me, that's just might as well be written language. It doesn't matter that it's
it's
written.
same difference, yeah.
No.
If you know any like Aboriginal lore stories, they're awesome. They are so awesome.
And remember, if any of our Australian listeners, I know this has probably been a little rough for you guys to listen to because it's just hard to research on our end.
Yeah,
But please send us the Aboriginal stuff, like anything.
yeah.
But I just want to say that Aborigines use these for cover. Another thing is it helped boost these legends are the kookaburras.
Oh, Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree. Mary King of the bushes, he.
Yeah. So kookaburras are members of the kingfisher family.
Yep.
We have little kingfishers here in the U.S. Kookaburras are massive as far as kingfishers
they're
go.
They're the big
Like
boys.
small hawk sized. But they can mimic and make like so many amazing noises.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Yowies, their Bigfoot also gets blamed on a lot of kookaburras.
Ah.
Or vice versa.
Right. They
The-
sound like kookaburras.
They're no, like
Or
kookaburras. Kookaburras make ungodly noises.
Yes,
And they're
people-
like, oh, that's a yowie.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's this little bird going,
Yeah. I
going
mean,
nuts.
do people, it's same thing with the bunyip too?
Yes.
Okay.
And they prefer, so kookaburras will actually hang out in caves and rivers, like in and then the billabong areas.
And gum trees.
And gum trees. Well, that's what goes around the billabongs.
See? There we go.
But no, so at night, Cougar bears can sound horrifying. So that's what they think a lot of the white man legend of the Bunyip got spread is not understanding that this little tiny bird is just making ungodly noise.
Right, yeah.
Just terrifying noises. So I just wanted to say that before we move on.
Yeah, we're going to get into...
What could it be?
Right.
So I have several things.
I know you do.
We can talk about this for a while.
Yeah.
The first one is hoax/folklore. And what I mean by hoax is that I just told you about the Aborigines portraying this creature. So some people think that it's purely, they pulled something out of their folklore that the adults are like, that's just our boogeyman.
Yeah.
But we can use this to our advantage to not be murdered.
Yeah.
So is that what propagated it into white settlers moving into a very terrifyingly wildlife-rich country? White settlers moving in, and these Aborigines spreading these legends to help protect themselves, and that's what fired up the Bunyip.
Yeah.
Like we talked about in the beginning, the Bunyip has so many descriptions.
Yeah, it's not
giant
one thing.
bird,
Yeah.
a seal, an elephant, a starfish, a starving fish that crawls onto land, like literally all these things.
Some guy.
Is this a collective idea the Aborigines had to scare white people into air so they could move out of areas? Because a lot of Aborigines just retreated into the continent.
Right, yeah.
They just went into the areas that white people couldn't survive.
Exactly. Only they could live there.
I don't think like most people live I think it's 60 miles from the coastline of Australia because
It's like 99%.
The outback is horrid.
Yeah. It's deadly.
So when I say hoax, that's what I mean. I don't mean hoax as in
It
there's a
never
guy
existed.
dressed up out there in the Bunyip.
Yeah.
There's even been convicts have used the Bunyip to escape. But there's also stories of convicts being eaten by bunyips.
Oh, gosh. But they could also have pretended to be eaten.
No, so I think it's pretending both ways. That when convicts got out, they were walking in the swamps making scaring people away. But there's also these prisoner compounds. The prison guards could have been using the bunyips in the swamps around and being like, yeah, if you try to escape and run, you're just going to get eaten by bunyips.
All right, yeah, they're all out there.
Like literally you hear them all night, you know.
Yeah.
So is this all just kind of a big hoax? As in everybody using folklore to their advantage.
Right, yeah. And it's just as a collective the stories have grown into just being all pretty much fabricated. But I think some of it's some of it I can guarantee has been heavily hoaxed or heavily used to their advantage to pretend.
I pulled a J, dropped something.
Protect and scare people. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure that plays a big part in this too.
Okay, my next one. A warning about danger. What I mean by this is that a lot of folklore makes up monsters to keep children away from certain dangers or to teach certain lessons.
Right, yeah.
So crocodiles are kind of fascinating to kids. I was hitting an alligator. I was hitting an alligator with a net when I was 6.
Just because.
Like an 8-foot alligator. I'm not joking. I got away from my dad. He was fishing. Didn't see the alligator. I have like a little kid toy net. I'm whacking it in the face. And Dad looked over, and I just remember him picking me up so hard and running.
Yeah.
And it was like at a hotel in Florida.
Jesus.
And I loved reptiles.
Yeah.
So just a big reptile.
Yeah, big dog.
Yeah, I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it in the face, and it's just sitting there. If it was a wild alligator, I probably would have been in trouble. This was like a hotel pet, quote unquote.
Yeah.
That like everybody like that night, Dad seen a bunch like the hotel dumping food for it.
Yeah.
So he was just sitting there waiting for me to feed it, but you're still dangerous.
I know, and you're sitting there wagging it with a net.
So what if this? So I guess what I'm saying is that there's all this stuff. Like kids are fascinated by reptiles. They're fascinated. So crocodiles, real danger in Australia. Venomous snakes in the water.
Yeah.
Super dangerous in Australia.
Yeah.
So what if this is the Aborigines version of, like I said, even in the beginning, it's their boogeyman.
Right.
So they make this amalgamation of a creature of just pure chaos and bloodlust and death, but it's tied to the water. So your kids, when they get away at night, they're smart. They don't want to go towards the water because that's where it lives.
The bunyip.
Yeah. It's not a crocodile. It's not a normal animal, you know.
It's something way
and this
deadlier.
Is across every culture on the planet has these things.
Right. It's true.
From the Inuits in Alaska, to these Aborigines, to, Africans, to Native Americans, to white settlers, we all have these legends.
The spooky monster that lives in the water.
They teach a lesson.
Right, yeah.
To keep kids away from these deep, dark waters where real threats live. But the real threats aren't scary. It's just this weird thing with kids. Is a crocodile's not scary. A snake's not scary. But this bloodthirsty monster, this a thing of chaos is.
That's pretty dang scary.
What do you think about that?
I think that it could have played a part in it, but I do think the bunyip's a real thing though. So I think they probably did use the bunyip as a way to keep kids out because it's true. Like it literally, it's not like just trying to scare them. It's trying to scare them, yes, but it's actually true. Like you will get eaten because I think it's happened. I mean, from some of those accounts, it did happen. Whether it was a crocodile or not, I mean, maybe, but
Yeah, and
I do believe in the bunyip.
there's real animals in Australia that will kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of them.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
everything from huntsman spiders to crocodiles to brown snakes,
To me, when I'm there,
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
scary.
I don't think you're very high up to the cassowary. But this could explain why the bunyip for every tribe has a different look, a
Right,
different
yeah.
appearance. It's their different version of the bunyip, their different version of the boogeyman. Their monster at night is slightly different because they have slightly different cultural values, slightly
Right,
different, Even it's so why is one giant starfish? They may be eating more coastal. These are animals that they're exaggerating to make these monsters.
Right, yeah.
So what do you think?
I mean, I could subscribe to it a little bit. Just a little bit.
All right, my next one is actually Diprotriodon.
What is that?
So this is the extinct giant marsupial, the rhino.
Oh, that's what we talked about. Okay.
Some people actually think it may have been like a hippo. So as far as we know, there's no such thing as an fully aquatic marsupial.
Okay.
Even semi-aquatic marsupials don't really exist.
Okay.
Before we get to it, the platypus is not a marsupial.
Yeah, it's one of those, that and the echidna, right?
Yeah, or they're egg-laying mammals. They
Egg-laying
are
mammals,
true
yeah.
mammals, but they are egg-laying mammals.
So weird.
So we don't have any. So here's my thing: is that Australia's all of their megafauna niches were filled by marsupials mostly. So why wouldn't there be a hippo? So in Vietnam, Asia, we have the water buffalo,
Yeah.
which is and people don't realize like water buffaloes will walk right in the bottom of rivers.
Yeah.
Like they'll sit there, they're comfortable. They hold their breath for a really long time. They eat vegetation at the bottom of the river. North America has the moose.
Yep.
When they were more ubiquitous, moose would literally swim 30 feet down and eat vegetation at the bottom of a river.
Imagine being down there, like swimming and
An adult moose is adult moose's only active predator is orcas.
Gosh, oh my gosh, moose are gigantic.
Yeah, and that's it. So there's all these things. So South America has the tapirs.
Yeah.
They have large, and then Africa obviously has hippos.
Right. Yeah.
So there's all these tropical, subtropical regions have a mega mammal that lives in the water. South America also now has hippos, but that's from Pablo
Other reasons.
Escobar.
Yeah. Other reasons.
So Australia's kind of missing theirs.
Okay.
So this dippo, the dippo hippo, could be their version of a hippo. And now it seemed to have very dense bones. It was a very, very large marsupial. It was very wombat-like. It looked just kind of like a supersized wombat, but it has evidence it almost even maybe had a horn like a rhino.
Okay.
Didn't have the sheath horn like that, but like a large bony protuberance.
Gotcha.
So for ramming or defense or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of people think this could be their hippo. Now, let's say this didn't go extinct. This is living almost entirely like hippos, except they're a lot more solitary. So there's not these giant herds of them living in a river.
Yeah.
Each one or two takes a billabong. They stay in it until the night, and they come on the land to graze,
Okay.
just like a hippo.
Okay.
They're incredibly aggressive, just like a hippo.
Yeah. Hippo's extremely aggressive.
And they just happen to be in lower numbers. So they're not these like big herds like hippos. Like tapirs are one or two animals. They're extremely, extremely, extremely hard to study in the wild.
Yeah.
So what if this is them? They're a population that may be on the brink of extinction or very, very extremely limited numbers. And these Aborigines have been dealing with them for a really, really long time.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, they're aquatic. Aborigines had stories of these bunyips being grazers. And then coming out on land, they're just really aggressive. People get this idea that mammals aren't aggressive. Or not mammals, herbivores aren't aggressive.
No, they're the most aggressive.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with a carnivore. Because you know why? Carnivores are smart and they think about it.
Yeah.
Herbivores are just like panicky, dumb, violent animals.
Shoot, that just made me think of this video I saw online of this guy, but now I can't remember the animal.
Was it an elk?
Was it charging the guy and he held up the stick?
Oh, no.
Oh, so it was some It was it was some big like animal, or it was a big cat. A big cat was coming up on this guy, and he just goes. He had like a spear in his hand, and he just goes and like holds it up like he was gonna stab it, and the thing just froze and paused.
It's like, oh,
And then he like kind of gave it like a little head fake, and it just kind of hesitated. And then he held the spear up over his head and just started yelling and started walking toward it. And the thing just turned around and took off.
so there's really a video going around of an Alaskan fisherman that has a gigantic, and I mean gigantic, grizzly bear. Starts charging them from like 150 yards away.
Yeah.
And he's this little tiny Inuit man, and he just starts running at the bear.
Yeah.
And the bear, you just see it in his face, like, ah, and then turns around and takes off. And then it's just like, it's because carnivores are, it's all about the fake out. And then once the prey or
Runs.
the threat
Yeah.
doesn't take the fake out, it's like,
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
it's where the only reason honey badgers are still alive
Yeah, because
is
they're
because they just
aggressive.
act like it.
But they also are very aggressive.
I mean, they are very aggressive, but a lion would bite through them in a second.
Oh, yeah, in a second, yeah.
But you see the lions kind of take off.
like,
from 'em.
ooh.
So what if these dippos are these hippos in Australia, and that's what people are having encounters with. So think about it. That could explain the very short fur.
Yeah.
That could explain this tiny round face, this big massive body, and this neck. That's kind
Yeah.
of what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
It really fits a lot of descriptions, and we think they may have been. Sorry, guys, I hit the mic stand. They think they may have been aquatic or semi-aquatic, like hippos.
What's
we don't
that?
have It's hard because it's just like we don't have any living relatives of them that are like them.
You're right. I mean, it's a niche that needs filled, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing is it's a niche that's open that nobody's occupying.
Right. But the bunyip is. So yeah, it makes sense. I like that idea. I like that because it kind of puts it in a spot. It puts it in that niche. So
Now
I like that idea.
You heard me talk about earlier that a lot of people, some of these tribes talk about the bunyip would hug its prey to death.
Yeah.
With these giant claws basically stabbing into them.
Yeah.
So I have two kind of thoughts for this. Let me do my mammal one. The Paratrosius ozula was a cousin of the dippo that we just talked about,
Yeah.
but it was more like a giant ground sloth.
Oh.
Still walked on all fours, but had these front arms that had giant, long, grasping claws. And some people think they may have been aquatic. And there was aquatic giant ground sloths too.
Ah.
So in South and North America, there was a giant aquatic ground sloths. So they think that this may be the bunyip. Is this more? It's more ground sloth-like creature. These giant claws, this tiny head on this long neck, but massive bodies.
Yeah.
And then at night they were extremely aggressive, and that's why they hug. They literally take the giant claws and they dive them into threats.
And just squeeze them to death.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just kind of what it would look like from the outside.
Yeah. As Nacho Libre would say, give them the old anaconda squeeze.
Yeah. Except they're jabbing, half-foot long claws into your guts and then ripping you in half.
A bit. Yeah. That's a bit more aggressive.
And they're big.
Right. Yeah. I mean, man, that kind of fits that. Yeah. I like this one.
And I'll try to say it again. Poliotrustes azula. I can say azula. But it was very similar size to the dippo. It's actually in the same family group. But marsupials have what's called evolutionary radiation, which
Okay.
means they're very genetically related to each other, but have very different body designs very
Okay.
fast.
Okay.
So that's typical what you see of a species that gets into an area that has no competition.
Gotcha.
So they take every niche available.
Yep.
And then they slow down over time. So that's why, as in the process of evolution, that's why it slows down when niches start getting filled.
Mm-hmm.
Because like species radiation happens like right when there's nobody's having any of these jobs.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why these two can be very closely related to each other and look very different.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Okay, so you like that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do.
I have another one you may like.
All right.
And I don't have any fossil records for this one, but this is one that came across my mind. As far as I know, I'm the only one. So those other two were heavily suggested by other people. This next one, I'm suggesting.
Okay.
So there's some carnivores, like the trilocene is one of the biggest marsupial carnivores, and there were some ancient, like the Thylacolea, which is like the big cat that had this almost beak, like tooth in the front,
Okay.
but it was a marsupial.
Oh, okay. Weird.
Yeah, and they had like koala hands.
Very strange.
Well, marsupials are just weird in general.
Yeah, exactly.
What if this is an actual solitary aquatic marsupial, like a carnivore? Like
Yeah.
I'm talking trilocene, thiocolia, to where they have this unique body plan. They're living in billabongs. They're hunting people. They're hunting food items.
Yeah.
They're wrestling with crocodiles.
I mean, we know for sure whatever the bunyip is a solitary creature. We
Yeah.
know that for sure.
And that's could explain some really weird biology that this thing is supposedly having. Is it's and a group of marsupials that's not been found,
Right, yeah.
and they were kind of like missing the large. So we had the big cats, like the thiocolia. They're not big cats; they're marsupials, but the big cat niche.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of missing the otters.
Okay.
And otters, as everybody here may know or may not know, like giant river otters in the Amazon, can get massive and will eat anacondas and crocodilians.
Otters are mean.
Yeah, and smart.
I mean, they look really cute and fun, but they're mean. That's one of the last animals I want running around my ankles aggressively.
Like, you just see a head pop up and it's a caiman. You're like, oh, thank goodness it's just a caiman. And then you see 10 giant river otters that are a foot longer than you getting ready to eat you.
No, and they will.
They will. They'll drown you.
They'll get in your guts and scoop them all out while you're still alive, I'm sure.
So what do you think about that one?
I mean, if it's weird, but so is the bunyip, It fits kind of that weird thing. And Australia itself is just so weird in general with just the creatures that are already there that are documented. It just doesn't put this thing out of the realm of possibility of still being hanging around like this type of creature, filling that niche, because nothing's taking its niche, that's for sure. Nothing. That we know of. I mean, crocodile's the closest thing.
Yeah, I mean,
but I think this
crocodiles don't mess with hippos.
This sounds like exactly.
It's just not worth it.
No, he'll get stomped to death.
I mean,
Even if they bite onto it just right. The hippos are so big.
giant saltwater crocodiles can win against a hippo.
Yeah.
It's not
Giant.
worth it.
Exactly. Giant. It's going to be a battle.
But like we talked about last season, Australia has giant
Oh, for sure.
saltwater crocodiles.
For sure. But it ain't going to be easy.
And that could be why they're living in these billabongs, is it's protecting their offspring or whatever. It's it's...
Yeah. Or it's just its own protection. Like, this is my home. Like, I'm in
Now,
here.
So that's that one. So the Aborigines are very, very, very convinced that whatever the bunyip is, it lays eggs.
Okay.
What about a giant platypus?
Just a straight up. No, our platypus.
A cousin.
Are they,
whatever, the same family.
Are they aggressive at all or known to be?
Oh, yeah. And they're
Platypus
venomous.
are? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're venomous. They're egg layers. They're highly territorial. If they got bigger, they'd kill us all.
Platypus.
It's like a weasel. Like, literally, it's just the only thing that's limiting them from murdering everything on the planet is their size.
Do they have teeth in their beaks?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Weird. They're very different. They're very ancient mammals.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And there's argument. People argue with me that they're true mammals, but they are true mammals. They're just very, very ancient mammals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if they're laying eggs, something's
Yeah.
off.
So, anyways, these guys, like some of the original Bunyip reports talk about it looking like people calling it a giant platypus.
Yeah.
People seeing it, calling it a giant platypus. A lot of the original reports talk about having a beak
Right, yeah.
and fur,
Like platypus.
having these giant claws they use as defense. Male platypus actually have a giant venomous spur on their feet. They use to fight other males and to fight attackers.
Okay.
So a lot of these things are piecing together this weird hodgepodge of biology that seems to be like, well, if you see the bunyip, if you see its face, you're going to call it a bird.
Yeah.
If you see its back, you're going to call it a big mammal.
Yeah.
You see it swimming, its tail looks like a sirenian, like a manatee.
So it could be platypus-like, like a
And
cousin.
platypus are already so secretive and so endangered
Yeah, very.
that there are there's only one in the entire U.S. and it just got here last year.
In captivity?
Yeah.
Dang, that's nuts.
So there's only, and I can't remember what the zoo it is anymore. It's out west.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that does Doofenshmirtz on Phineas and Ferb was talking about it.
Oh, okay.
So what if this is giant, ancient, rare platypus? The Aborigines literally talk about them laying nests like platypus, laying eggs like platypus. And that's why they're the only reason they're in these billabongs, they're not in their open river, is because they're nesting. That's their nesting season.
Ah, okay. And that's why they're extra
hyper
aggressive.
aggressive.
Makes sense.
The rest of the time, they're like a normal platypus. They're solitary. They're out there eating crayfish and mollusk.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Aborigines are convinced that the bunyip eats.
And if they're that big, they could fill that niche of the giant hippo, the mega mammal.
And I think they're just like, yeah, so what do you think about this? A giant platypus.
Maybe this one has me convinced now. I'm like all over the place on this one. Because
There's a lot of good ones.
There is.
All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
At the very end, we'll go through and I'm like, you give percentages.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Giant starfish. It literally. I hit the mic again. Sorry, guys. Giant starfish. This is literally a giant freshwater starfish that's eating things.
No. Sorry, no.
I think that'd be neat. Now, I don't know where this kind of legend comes from. Like I said, I couldn't really research the Aborigine side of it. Besides, they say an X tribe says it's a giant starfish.
Mhm.
Like that's it.
Mhm.
That's the extent of my knowledge.
Right, yeah.
And it was a big purple starfish.
I'm just going to lean. I'm going to lean towards the no on this
Yeah.
one.
What about it being some kind of giant aquatic bird? So we talked about the devil duck of doom is literally the name of it in Australia. It's a type of terror bird. But the cassowaries are monstrous birds.
Right, we know for
And
sure.
we think that why they ended up so demonic almost is that the mammals they evolved with. The Australia was such a scary continent. You think
They
it's scary
had to be,
now.
yeah.
That they had, like, they were around with some of the biggest, scariest, weird carnivores on the planet. So they evolved to be super aggressive. So they evolved basically to be not worth it.
Right, yeah.
Just like we talked about the honey badger.
Right, exactly.
So this bigger cousin, we don't know a lot about the devil duck of doom, which is like a 10-foot tall terror bird, big giant bill. It could have been aquatic. It could be more like a cormorant where they're swimming a lot of times.
See,
They're digging mounds in the side of these hills to lay eggs.
I feel I'm going to say no on this one only for the only reason the bunyip, especially during the day, is usually in the bill, under the water. And almost every bird I can think of that even swims is always, even underwater, they always float. They always come up and float.
So there's like penguins, there's puffins, there's cormorants that don't float.
That's very, but that's
Those are
very,
aquatic birds.
right, they are. It's
You're
true.
thinking of like water birds are different than aquatic birds.
Okay. Penguins don't float,
No,
so they sink like a stone if you drop them in.
not like a stone. They're like neutrally buoyant.
Oh, okay.
So if they swim down, they're going to stay down. If they swim up, they're going to go up. So a lot of these birds are like neutrally buoyant.
Gotcha. I still don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think that's it. In my head.
What about a last living dinosaur? Now here,
So Australia.
later in the season, we're going to tear into living dinosaurs from around the world.
Okay.
Australia has a lot of them.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
The outback, like everything from like giant theropods to sauropods to hadrosaurs.
And then they have that big national forest or whatever. That's
Oh, the rainforest.
The
Biggest uncharted rainforest on the planet is in Australia.
yeah, exactly.
But the outback is also just massively
it's huge.
uncharted.
Yeah.
Like people don't realize that there's just like I was watching. There's this opal show where they go out and pick opal out of the exposed rock in the outback, and like they're only going like 2 hours out and they're about dying.
Yeah.
Every time they go out there,
Yeah, it's crazy.
and it's like they can drive another 15 hours.
Oh yeah, and still
That's why it takes forever to get anywhere in Australia. You got to go like around.
everything. Yeah, you can't drive through.
So, what if this is a dinosaur? This is some kind of aquatic. So like Therizinosaurus was an aquatic herbivore with a beak that was extremely aggressive, had these long talons, and the feathers, and the mix of mammalian, reptilian, and avian traits.
It's my favorite bird to catch on arc or dinosaur to catch on arc.
Yeah.
Sorry, not bird.
Therizinosaurus. Kinda. I mean, birds are dinosaurs.
Pretty dang close. Yeah.
Like we covered this, like the stink bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what if this is something like that? It's an actual one of these remnant dinosaurs.
Oh, could be. I mean, it's Australia.
See, I don't think so. I just don't think dinosaurs, like as in
True dinosaurs.
true dinosaurs, aren't around anymore.
Yeah.
The stink bird's, I think, the closest thing we have to a dinosaur. And there's biologists arguing
That
whether it
even
is
that.
a true dinosaur.
Oh, gotcha.
It may
okay.
be a true dinosaur. It may not be. It may just be a bird.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's so odd.
right.
All right. I played with you long enough.
Yeah.
You ready for the real ones?
I'm ready.
Oh, well, you better wait. So I'm going to kind of combine my last two
Okay.
because they're kind of the same, but they're different. So earlier reports at the Bunyip talk about these giant kind of tusk.
Okay.
Talk about like some of the small headed ones always kind of have these big teeth or tusks that point out of their mouth.
Okay.
Others talk about this giant fleshy thing on their face. Like some people describe it as like a pelican flap. Others describe it
yeah.
as like this big protuberance.
Yeah.
I think that 99% of Bunyip reports, encounters, especially the olden days, were either walruses or elephant seals.
Okay. So the seals, pinnipeds.
Like literally, yeah. So we're going to get into this. This is not, there's people written books about it being pinnipeds. So elephant seals. Let's talk about elephant seals first.
How big are they?
Massive. I mean, elephant seals are the biggest pinniped on the planet.
Okay.
I believe they can reach 22 feet in length and right at 4,000 pounds.
That's pretty big.
They get about the same size as a great white shark, a big great white shark.
That's pretty big.
But on average, let's say they're 15 to 16 feet.
Yeah.
They're one of the only pinnipeds on the planet, including walruses, that great white sharks just really don't tackle.
Leave alone, yeah.
Because it's too big.
Yeah.
Orcas even really don't mess with adult male elephant seals.
Okay.
So we're
Or you mean fully grown calf elephant seals?
Yeah. So that skull, I'm glad you brought that up. The
Oh,
fetal
yeah.
calf full skull actually looks like an elephant seal skull. This weird thing that they're describing, this nose piece that they think it's why it's deformed,
Yeah.
looks like where the trunk-like organ for the nose attaches to the skull.
That makes sense, yeah.
It literally looks like it is, in my opinion, it's an elephant seal skull. Is what they were showing. These big, what they said manatee or hippo-like bones in the middle of Australia.
Yeah. But it
Were elephant seal-like.
I was going to say, would it be an actual elephant seal or like a cousin or like a close relative?
An actual elephant seal.
Like the ones we know today.
Yes.
Okay.
So elephant seals have a funny thing about them. As there's both Antarctic and Arctic elephant seals. They're circumnavigating species. They'll travel. They're everywhere on the planet. Walruses are a little not as common, but we'll talk about them in a minute. Elephant seals have this funny habit of ending up where they shouldn't.
Okay.
In the 1800s, there's a report of one in the White River in Arkansas.
Okay.
And everybody's like, that's a giant seal.
Yeah.
And it's laying on the bank. Everybody's seen it. Like boat captains, cargo ships, like hundreds of people seen it. And that would have had to follow the ship into the Panama Canal, swim up the Gulf of Mexico, and up the Mississippi River.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But it probably did it. I will try to remember to post this when this comes out. But I have a video of in the Chilean River of this gigantic pinniped they're calling a dinosaur swimming around in this river. It is 100% an elephant seal.
Really?
And they're in a tiny Chilean river up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's big elephant seals like swimming circles around in there. Like elephant seals are famous for ending up hundreds and thousands of miles inland to end up places they shouldn't be.
Where are they supposed to be?
They're coastal animals.
Gotcha.
So they have like Antarctic and Arctic habitats on both ends of the globe. They're cold water, but they swim in the open ocean, stuff like that. They do visit Australia. They're not uncommon on the coast.
Okay.
What they do in Australia, there was in 1990, like I believe it was 5. One swam like 700-800 miles up a river in Australia, got into this town. People don't realize how big elephant seals are.
Yeah.
They are elephant seals.
They're big.
They're massive. It gets into this little tiny town, like Kaluga, like a town of 200, 1995. It gets out and starts attacking cars. And you remember what I said about the bunyip hugging its prey to death?
Yeah.
So elephant seals, when they're fighting, they rear up, they stand up real tall,
Yeah.
and then they kind of slap their bodies together. So it literally looks like when this elephant seal's attacking cars, it looks like it's hugging them to death.
Okay.
So it's just hugging, and it fell in love with a cow, cow.
Oh, no.
So it's like fighting farmers. It's fighting the other cows. It's out in this field, like running around chasing. And these are almost always old juvenile, early adult male elephant seals that aren't big enough to claim their own territory in the breeding areas yet.
Yeah.
But they're still sexually frustrated.
So, okay. So
they want to do the whole process. Elephant seals do a lot of show. They do a lot. They get so testosterone. When they're in this, so remember back, this feathers or hanging skin.
Yeah.
Elephant seals shed the outer layer of their skin, and it looks like these big flaps hanging off.
Okay.
So that could be this whole feathery
thing, yeah.
Skin flap look.
Yeah.
They can stretch out and show how long and tall they are. That gives them an appearance of a very small bulldog-like head and this big long neck. Or they're short and heavy like other aboriginally when they're tucked in. They're extremely aggressive during this time.
Okay.
And they will murder everything. They have tusk.
Yeah.
They have both downward and upwards tusk. You just only seen the upwards facing ones because they're big nose. they're extremely aggressive. So what I think is happening is over the last couple millennia, is every once in a while, these tribes of Aborigines don't get to experience elephant seals very often if they're not on the coast, and even then they're kind of rare.
Yeah.
So you get this one that goes in a couple 100 miles inland, takes up a billabong for a breeding season, and they sound horrendous. They're loud, guttural screams. I think that's what's happening. Walruses have been appearing in South America too.
South America or Australia?
South America.
Okay.
But we think that's for different reasons. Walruses are very much more distinct look, but they do have the big tusk that face down, like some of the depictions of these. It would be odder for a walrus, but not like walruses are ending up
but not impossible.
Yeah, walruses do the kind of similar thing. They end up in really weird places.
Okay.
Just not to the extent elephant seals do.
Yeah, they have a
elephant seals
history.
are famous for ending up including in Australia.
Yeah.
Literally going up hundreds of miles upriver and just fighting cars.
Right. Oh, okay.
Like literally that one was like destroyed. I think it was a Ford Taurus in that video. You see it rear up and just the Ford Taurus disappears.
Ford Taurus never stood a chance.
No, I mean, you're talking like a massive animal. So I think what's happening is that these people are experiencing elephant seals. And these juvenile males that are sexually frustrated, they're 15 feet long, they're not big enough to claim a beach, but they go inland, they pick a territory, and they just kill everything else around them.
So
Think it. A 15-foot walrus or a 15-foot elephant seal is not going to mess with anything on mainland Australia.
No, not at
A
all.
big saltwater crocodile may bite them. I don't think he's winning
They're pretty bad.
because they rip each other apart during the breeding season.
Oh, really?
Like that outer layer of skin that's kind of hanging off is
Yeah.
on purpose. So when a rival grabs and rips a chunk of skin off,
It's not that
Right.
big of a deal. Yeah.
and it still bleeds.
Well, yeah, but nothing vital.
Yeah, and I've seen elephant seals have like bite marks from great whites and orcas in them, and they're
Oof.
still fighting.
Oh.
Like they got this big chunk, but you don't see. It's just still the blubber.
Right. It's not organs or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're experiencing, at least some of it.
I think it'd be possible. You can't rule it out.
All right. So do you have anything?
I mean, with all the descriptions and stuff, I believe that the bunyip is real. 100%. It's a real flesh and blood creature. There may be some elemental, like spiritual, like, different dimensional being to it as well, only because it involves water and involves a water creature, and those just things always seem to go hand in hand. I think that could play a role in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the giant platypus, like ancient, different platypus type, like cousin thing, and the elephant seal, like those, and the ground sloth thing. Now, who's to say with all the different descriptions and stuff, one of those things might not be right in one of those situations?
One of these things,
You know,
not like the other.
Yeah, no, not like that. But you know what I'm saying? Like that could be a possibility. Like,
So
one of those things are existing. But overall, I kind of like the elephant seal thing. Yeah.
I'm going. I think 99% of it's elephant seals. I think everything from the giant sea star to I think almost all the bunyip has always been elephant seals. Even the one they try to hunt in the town,
Yeah.
how it was described was
Yeah.
very elephant seal tying. The bones they keep finding of them.
Yeah.
I think all the bones have been elephant seal bones.
Hmm.
And because they just get in and they get to a spot they're not supposed to be and they just die
Yeah.
because they're a giant marine mammal.
Yeah.
And they get to this little billabong. The river dries up before they leave.
Right. Exactly.
There are rivers in Australia that can run dry. And so they get into these like hundreds of miles inland and then it dries up and they cannot crawl back to water.
Through the
They
desert.
can only go a couple 100 feet.
Yeah.
So
That
I
would
think,
suck.
and then they just die, So you have these big pile of bones with these weird skulls that nobody inland has ever seen because it's an Arctic seal.
Yeah. It's not meant to be there anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's happening. Personally, I do think Australia's full of awesome cryptids.
Yeah.
And there are cryptids that are undiscovered by science. There are these weird biological things that are remnants. It's had amazing flora and fauna forever. I just think personally almost all these bunyip accounts, especially the white settler bunyip accounts, are elephant seals.
Yeah.
From the bones, from the sightings, from them trying to dynamite it. Why it's only coming out at night is because they get sunburnt and stuff like that.
That makes sense.
So they're literally laying in the bottom. They're just raising their nose up to breathe, laying down, raising their nose up to breathe, laying down.
Imagine fishing in a fishing hole and you see
Elephant seals
an elephant nose come up.
They can hold their breath for almost an hour. Well, we've recorded them an hour and 45 minutes.
That's pretty long.
So that's them just holding their breath to dive.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
They eat a lot of crayfish and mollusk. They're almost they love bivalves. So a lot of the Bunyip stories talk about all these big piles of mussel shells. And that's what they do. Like literally, them and walruses are designed. Their mouths are like designed to suck out the bivalves.
Yummy.
Yeah, delicious.
It sounds good.
But they're highly aggressive, especially during this time. Like they turn, like any animal
Right,
rut
yeah.
or anything like
When
that.
they're ready to breed. Oh yeah.
And then,
Or if they're even watching like offspring or something, they're going to be highly, highly
so
aggressive.
that's the female's job, which is a lot smaller.
Oh, gotcha.
But if let's say they are bringing a small harem inland, like some of these reports talk about these big 15-footers swimming with these 5-footers.
Yeah.
The elephant seal females are tiny,
Okay.
like normal seal. They look like a normal seal.
So in these billabongs, this is where the big boys play.
Well, no, they're not big boys. The big boys stick to their traditional breeding grounds because they can hold the real estate.
Well,
But that's
in this niche.
So bunyips are 15 feet long, which sounds massive, but I just actual big elephant seals are a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
So these are the ones that are getting pushed off.
Was it an elephant seal when they took the skin of one and they sent it back to that museum and the guy reconstructed it?
That was a walrus.
Oh, it was just a walrus. Okay.
Which they have a lot both,
More floppier skin, but
yeah.
still. Oh,
And it's like it would be like 8 tons.
Yeah,
and its neck was like 30 feet
40
long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But they can stretch their neck. They can look up out of the water, and then they can pull themselves back in.
Back in, yeah.
I'm going elephant seal with a slight sprinkling of walrus.
I like the elephant seal. I like the giant platypus and the
Now,
sprinkled with
I
a little
want it to be
metaphysical.
I want it to be a giant platypus.
That'd be neat with the bill and everything.
I want it.
Yeah, we'll put it in a tank. We'll build an enclosure out back.
I want it.
Put it by the quail.
I have been season 4, the great and powerful mystery. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know there's a lot of reading towards the hunts from old white people, and I hate reading old white people's writing.
Yeah.
But that's just what it is.
We just report what was written, the facts.
Yep. So like I said, I've already been the great and powerful season 4 mystery.
And I've been the infamous Jay. And if you have any aboriginal stories, folklore, anything at all involving the Bunyip, please send it to our email, cryptidsofthecornpodcast@gmail.com, or to our what's that thing called again where you can voicemail in?
Speaker pipe. There's a link down below.
Speaker pipe. Click the if you got any stories, if you just want to share any of that.
It's like a call-in. It's like a voicemail service.
Yeah, so we can hear your voice. And sometimes people, I don't like writing. It's easier for me to do that.
100%. Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, let us know.
All right.
Bye. Turn your thing up. The dial. It's okay.
Podcast.
Please share with a friend you think would like us. It's the best way to help our show grow.
Leave a comment, rate us, a 5-star review, and remember, there is always extra content on Patreon/cryptidsofthecorn.com.
And don't forget, stay magical.
I have been the great and powerful season 4 mystery.
And I've been the infamous Jay.
All right, guys.
Bye. There's that.
Thank you for listening to Crypts of the Corn podcast.
Please share with a friend you think would like us. It's the best way to help our show grow.
Leave a comment, rate us, a 5-star review, and remember, there is always extra content on Patreon/cryptidsofthecorn.com.
And don't forget, stay magical.